Yeah, to answer your question straight away, size really matters when it comes to this. In this case, smaller is much better, believe it or not. Women everywhere are vehemently disagreeing. When people are like found that have heavy metals, if they're not doing this, which is a natural cycling of using minerals that are meant to displace in the body naturally, things like cadmium and mercury and lead.
How much of this were we getting 500 to 1,000 years ago when we were eating animals, when we were living off the land? I mean, maybe there wasn't so much of an imbalance. How many people would you say? You mentioned 96% of people were low in magnesium, iodine, and I'm sure the magnesium level's up there as well.
Yeah.
So
80.
We know the food, and this isn't to like paint some dark story, because obviously you're bringing solutions, but we have to talk about what's really going on.
The reality of current.
How many people have just general deficiencies?
90% of people, they said, had 10 or more deficiencies.
Basically, almost everyone.
Common deficiencies, things like boron. We have boron in our upgraded memory. We also have boron now. Recent products we just put out, large dose, which is really good for, it's synonymous with intelligence. It's really good for testosterone because it reduces sex binding globulin, kind of a mouthful. That's really key. That's another one. Manganese is another one that I've seen almost everyone be deficient in. We have that as a separate product, which helps with recovery after workouts. It's actually a constituent in building. It's a raw material in building neural pathways. Important for recall, certainly, because you're actually building the highway. I'm so glad you mentioned that, though, because it's a really key point. When you talked about, some time ago, like 1,000 years ago, even a few hundred years ago, we had a lot less pollutants in the atmosphere, in the air we breathe. And I know a lot of people point toward plastics, and those are certainly, but what's even more of a concern is heavy metals, because they stay in the body longer and they're more toxic. So mercury, for example, is incredibly toxic. Lead is even incredibly toxic, but mercury is 1,000 times more toxic on a gram per gram basis. So really small amounts of this stuff make us sick, and they are really hard to get out of the body. So when you have fewer mineral deficiencies, you have a reduced chance of accumulating heavy metals of any kind. But the atmosphere itself is roughly, it's like somewhere between 800 and 1,000 times more toxic than in recorded history, previous recorded. Gosh. That's the whole food you're asking. I know some people are going to ask about the food and is that enough? Can't you just eat well? Honestly, I wish that were the case. There wouldn't be a need for the company, but life would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But this is why people get sick early, and this is why disease exists, because disease doesn't exist when the cells have the nutrients they need.
I think about Dr. Zach Bush that was sitting in that chair a while back, and he was describing how cancer is really when cells stop communicating with each other. And so if that's what breeds cancer is loss of communication with cells, then I can also extrapolate that a loss of communication and a loss of balancing of the minerals could contribute to the loss of communication in the system. Obviously, it's just one compartment of the system, but wow, if 9 out of 10 people, I'm just hitting this in real time, if 9 out of 10 of us are deficient in minerals, and we know that from Zach Bush's work and also many doctors' work, that cancer is a byproduct of a lack of communication of cells. Do you feel like people that have cancer, it's a byproduct of the minerals being deficient and the minerals not communicating and finding balance with each other?
Yeah, so it's really two things. It's definitely that, and it's heavy metals interfering. So those are the two biggest things at play. Again, this is not surprising when we think the planet is elemental, and we are a makeup of that periodic table that we learned in chemistry.
Well, you learned it in organic chemistry way more than the rest of us, but yes.
Sure. I loved organic chemistry. It's a beautiful world in and of itself, that physical chemistry, all of it. And what my main goal is to make this as approachable, as easy to understand for people as possible. Because, supplements work. People see that for themselves. But it's further than just taking supplements at work. It's what do you need? This is a tool for self-discovery and understanding your body better. And when you have more energy, you now can follow through and read those books that are on your shelf. And you can start to up-level
I want to go back to absorption because I feel like we could just unpack that a little bit more. So you have this nanotechnology. So when I think about having a map as a test, that's the starting point, know thyself. So see where you are, take the snapshot, do the test. Then from there, smart supplementation that's based on real-time data. So you're not just like taking a bunch of supplements because you quote should.
Right.
You're actually taking them based off of your results. Then this nanotechnology comes in because we could be eating the foods that have the minerals in them. But if we have leaky gut and if there's things blocking us from absorbing natural minerals that are found in natural foods, that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin, though, is like, how does that actually get in there? I heard about nanotechnology from Ray Kurzweil, right? The singularity, like his work.
Yeah.
But with the nanotechnology that you're using, this is way different. Like, is it a particle? Is it a particle shape? Is it a particle size? How are the minerals that you're using getting into the system? You even said that if somebody didn't have a stomach, I'd want them to absorb this.
Yeah,
So
and they can.
What's the nano and how did you find that?
The process that we have allows us to take a larger particle size that's 5 to 8 times a red blood cell and make it about 1,000 times smaller than a red blood cell and make it also stable too. You'll see, like, I'll stabilize a lot of our products with chloride because your body needs chloride. For example, you don't need the multiple different types of magnesium, one for this and one for that and one for this. Whenever you're using, our process at least, I can't speak to anyone else's, but I know people have been taught that, and I tried to follow all those rules too before launching into this, and it didn't work in terms of really moving the needle. This one will cross the blood-brain barrier is a common thing, and this one is good for muscle health, and this one is good for going to the bathroom because it doesn't absorb, so it has a laxative effect. So yeah, to answer your question straight away, particle size is what
size.
Size. Yeah, so size really matters when it comes to this, and in this case, smaller is much better. Believe it or not, women everywhere are vehemently disagreeing. But
there's a symbol hit we put in there.
Yeah, so you start to feel it when you take our upgraded magnesium. If you take the liquid, especially, you start to feel it like so quickly. So you can have a foot cramp and it's gone in 3 minutes. Good luck with doing that any other way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the way to think about it.